Hello, and welcome to the Cook Memorial Public Library podcast, where you are invited to spend a few minutes with our staff here at the library. I'm Lindsay Barber Petticourt, and I'm here today with the Manager of Popular Services, Andrea Larson. Thanks for joining us, Andrea.
Thank you.
One of Andrea's many jobs here at the library is to run one of our book clubs. But this book club has a slight twist to it from, say, our regular fiction or nonfiction book clubs. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that book club?
Sure. It is our Teen Lit for Grownups book club. And, well, it's exactly what it sounds. It's people who are not teens reading books that are written for teens.
Okay. So why might adults want to read books that are aimed at teens?
Well, it's become really quite a popular thing lately. In fact, there was a survey that came out a few years ago saying that 55% of young adult books were bought by adults.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a high number. And, maybe some of that was adults buying
Right.
for their kids. But even so, just based on what I see at our library and what checks out, it's not only teens who are checking out these young adult books. And it makes a lot of sense because it's really great literature.
Yeah.
There's a reason why we're calling it Teen Lit. That lit was on purpose.
Okay.
Because these books are not dumbed down. They're really well written. And they tackle serious issues that kids today are facing. But they always have a little bit of hope in them. They're never completely bleak. Well, I shouldn't say never, but for the most part.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And they're really relatable because even if these are things that we as grown-ups are not going through right now, we probably did go through them when we were teens.
Yes.
All the coming of age issues, all those difficult things that you go through when you're in high school.
Right.
So and they're also really just entertaining. Most teen books are page turners.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so real quick reads.
Yeah, that's kind of a nice thing about them, too. In general, they're quick reads. So, although we just read a pretty long one, but it was a big fantasy book. It was An Ember in the Ashes by Sabah Tahir, and that one was fat. But in general, they're thin books.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So since you are the one leading this book club, I'm assuming that you have some favorite teen literature books that you go to?
I do. I got started on Teen Lit, a little bit with The Hunger Games and John Green, the way everybody else kind of did.
Right.
Starting in the early 90s. The late 90s.
Yeah.
But I also took a young adult literature class when I was in library school a few years ago, and that really got me learning a lot about young adult literature and the history of it. And so I've been happily reading it ever since.
Okay.
Favorites. That was your question. Sorry. I have a bunch. One book that our club just read recently is The Sun is Also a Star, and the author is Nicola Yoon, and her first book was called Everything, Everything, and they just made that into a movie this past year.
Yeah, I remember seeing trailers for that.
Yeah, but The Sun is Also a Star, I think, is also an excellent book. It's about these two young people who meet in New York randomly one day and end up spending the day together and falling in love. Oh. And it's a book about destiny and are you meant to be? But it's also a book with some sad parts to it because the girl is she's about to be deported with her family.
Oh, okay.
The boy is Asian American, first generation. His family is pressuring him to go to a college and study what he is not really interested in. So really great issues and a really beautiful story.
Yeah.
So I love that one. Another book that I love is Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. It's actually part of a duology, and it's fantasy.
Okay.
And it's set in this awesome imaginary world that's sort of loosely European, and it follows these 6 teens who have to pull off this crazy heist.
Oh, okay.
And they're all kind of a bunch of misfits, but they all have these strengths that they bring to the job. And
like supernatural strengths?
Not supernatural,
Oh, okay.
Verging on supernatural,
Gotcha.
but more just clever and smart and strong. Those kinds of things.
Okay.
So, and they're awesome books. I was kind of sad when the 2 books were over. I wanted it to keep going. So, yeah.
Those sound really good.
Yeah.
So those are some of your favorite teen books. Do you have any recommendations for those who are maybe interested in kind of diving into teen literature? Some adults out there who maybe thought it wasn't for them and think, oh, well, maybe I'll give it a try.
One book that I would suggest is called We Were Liars, and the author is E. Lockhart. And the reason I suggest it is because it is in the vein of all the psychological thrillers that are really popular right now, kind of like Girl on the Train.
Okay.
And so there's this unreliable narrator, and you can't really trust what she's saying. But it's set in this, it's got this beautiful setting on an island off the East Coast, and, all kinds of family dynamics going on. But it's a really approachable book and a really fun read. So I'd recommend that one.
Yeah, that sounds really good.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, Andrea, for being on the podcast. If you are interested in joining Andrea at our library's next Teen Lit for Grownups book club, that will be held on Tuesday, September 26th.
Yes, join us. It's really fun.
Yes. If you are interested in this book club or any of our other book clubs, you can visit our website at www.cooklib.org and find out more about that and many other book-related services we offer under the Books, Movies, Music section of our site. While you're on our website, take a look at Shelf Life, the library's blog, where we regularly share what's new and interesting in books, movies, and music. The blog's address is shelflife.cooklib.org. If you ever want to get in touch and leave some feedback, send us a message at webmaster@cooklib.org. If you enjoy this podcast, share it with your friends, family, and coworkers. One of the best things you can do to support us is to take a moment to leave a rating on Apple Podcasts. Those ratings help us get this podcast noticed. We'll be back again soon, but until then, keep reading, keep watching, and keep listening.